Okay, so what I want to do is welcome everybody. My name is J.R. Fenwick, and I'm the founder and CEO of Flip That Stock, and we're an education and technology company, and we specialize in teaching beginners how the stock market works and how to become active investors and traders. But oftentimes when you look at becoming successful at anything, and I oftentimes get asked, how did I flip that stock from scratch? There's someone or someones that came in my path that helped me uh, continue on that path and get to the next level. And so I'm so excited and so proud tonight to introduce you guys to someone who many of you have heard of. Maybe you might have seen him speak, maybe you haven't, but you're going to get it uncut tonight from someone who has been a mentor, a coach, but most importantly, I'm proud to say he's a friend of over 30 years. And we're just gonna give it to you uncut tonight, right? And one of the things that you're gonna find out about Dr. Fraser is that, as he says, he's at an age where he can just say what he wants to say and hopefully still be loved. All right. And so I just want to give you a brief introduction, because if I gave his long bio or CV, it would take up our whole time. So Dr. Fraser is someone who has been known as the networking king, and we'll break that down in a little bit. He's a best-selling author. He's I think he's received over 100 awards for his work. He is the founder and CEO of FraserNet.com. He is the founder and CEO of the largest African-American conference in the United States, the Power Networking Conference, which some of you or many of you have been to before. And I don't, like I said, want to spend all my time giving all his accolades, because we'll spend up the whole hour or so just doing that. So with that said, I want to welcome my mentor, my coach, and my very good friend, Dr. Fraser. How are you today, sir? And let me unmute you. Hold on one sec. Let's see. Let me get you unmuted here.
Can do it.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Okay, yes.
All right.
JR, so good to see you. And I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. Nora Jean, my lovely bride of 50 years, is doing wonderful. At 77 years old, I feel incredible.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And still going strong, still kicking, and still kicking high. So that's a God thing.
Mm-hmm.
God's not finished with me yet. And so it's just good to be on with you. I have a lot of love and respect for you. As you said, we go back 30 years. You are a stone cold revolutionary as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you take no prisoners, you handle your business, but you do it with grace, you do it with elegance, you do it with brilliance. You do it with a love for our people, and that is really, really attractive to me. You are, as I am, a race man, and a race man or race woman is someone who has committed the investment of their time, talent, and treasure into the upliftment and improvement of his or her own people first. I didn't say only, just said first. And that really warms the cockles of my heart, because if we had a couple of million more like you, and probably some others who are on this call, our issues and challenges and future would be unbelievable. We would maximize our full human potential. I want to read everybody a very simple little quote. I'm going to read it because I don't want to misquote it, and it's too long and I haven't memorized it. But this particular quote, remember, I'm 77, grew up on the main streets of New York. And I was one of those young kids in Harlem, watching Malcolm speak on a soapbox before he was well known. So
Mm.
all of that conversation had a profound influence on me. But there was one brother at that time who was one of Dr. King's right-hand men, I should say, Stokely Carmichael. And Stokely Carmichael said something so powerful that I didn't realize at the time that it buried deeply into my conscious and subconscious mind and became the North Star of my entire 77 years of living. And so I'm going to repeat it as Stokely Carmichael said it in 1962. And I want everybody to listen up on this,
Mhm.
because this is our marching orders right here. No Black person in this country makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. All individual advancement is based on mass struggle. We make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Therefore, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you. That's Stokely.
Mm.
That's powerful as far as I'm concerned. The great goddess of literature for Black people said it a little bit differently, but she said the same thing in a different way. Toni Morrison, the Pulitzer Prize winner, said, if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. That's Toni Morrison. She said that before she died, about 2 years before she received her Nobel Prize in literature, the first African-American or Black woman to receive the Nobel Prize. And then finally on this piece, and I'm making a point here, the great African-centered scholar, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, the prime coach and mentor for Dr. Malcolm X from New York, said, take what you do best and do it for your people. So the reason I love you, and really your whole family, right? Your brother Chica and your whole family, is you are about and for our people. It doesn't mean you don't do business with all kinds of
Right,
people. You all do,
right.
right? It just means that your love for us and and your ability to effectively teach and to communicate within the context of our culture is just a magnificent thing. And it's a gift from God, and I appreciate you for that. So I know that's a long way to say that keep doing what you're doing, but I had to say that about you.
Well, I want to thank you for that, and you guys see why I stay attached to the hip of George, because a lot of this is an influence from when I saw him. And I'll tell you very quickly how we ended up meeting, because this is so unbelievable, right? I always tell people who know me, I say, what is the likelihood of this happening?
Right.
Okay. But before I tell you this, George, I'm gonna tell you a fact that I don't know that I told you. My next door neighbor, when I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, her first cousin was Toni Morrison.
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Now, did you
So
ever get a chance to meet her?
I did not. I did
No.
not. Now, I'll tell you another quick factoid. Her other first cousin was Alan Page. Many of you may not remember. Alan Page was an all-pro,
And he
uh,
became a judge.
and he became a judge in Minnesota, a Supreme Court judge who fought for civil rights.
That's right.
And so the community I grew up in was just ripe with people like that.
Yeah.
But let me share this story with you guys. All right. And the theme of this conversation tonight, before I tell this story, is what do you really want?
Mhm.
What do you really want? All right. And I encourage everybody to have pen and paper and write that down. What do you really want? Okay. So let me share this story. My father, when I was growing up, he used to watch this TV show called Tony Brown's Journal. And every week he'd be in this room we call the library, laying on the couch watching this show, Tony Brown's Journal. So I used to sit in there sometimes with him and watch it. And this guy comes on, and this guy is talking about this book called Success Runs in Our Race. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, dang, I've never heard anybody really break this thing down the way he's broken this down. Now, this guy's name happened to be George C. Fraser at the time, now Dr. Fraser. And so I go out, I buy the book. I'm so blown away. I go out and buy the book, which at that age, I really wasn't going and buying a lot of books, to tell you the truth, if I'm being honest, right? So this 30 years ago. So I buy the book. And it just so happens that I was going to Orlando, Florida the next day to attend a music conference. And this music conference was called Jack the Rapper, named after a famous on-air personality. I think he was the first Black on-air personality, Jack the Rapper. But this conference would have everybody at it. It used to be in Atlanta, and they moved it to Orlando. It used to have everybody from Prince, Janet Jackson, Terry Lewis, anybody who was big in music would be there. And you had to have a legitimate music and production company, record label, which I did back in the day. So I go to Orlando, I got this book. I'm reading it on the plane. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. This book is incredible. So me and my partner, Earl Carter, we get off the plane, catch a cab to the hotel. We open the door. I kid you not, I open the door to the hotel, and the very first person I run into is George Fraser. Literally, the very first. I'm reading this book on the plane, and I never met him before. And here he is, just standing, at the door. He must have just come in himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I just saw you on Tony Brown's Journal. I just got your book. And I'm like, man, what are you doing here at a music conference, right? Because I'm like, he's got a message that I don't know if it's resonating with all these musicians and stuff. So he's like, hey, this is my first time here, but I'm speaking. Will you come to my conference? I'm like, bet, I'll come. So I don't know if you remember this, George. We come into your room. You had a huge room. No, before that happened, I walked past you, and this is right about when gangster rap started taking over.
Yeah.
And Snoop Dogg and all of them were there, and they walking around with Death Row record stickers everywhere and everything. And I saw you a second time sitting in a chair in the lobby later on, just looking. I said, yeah, you've never been here before. He's like, I've never seen nothing like this. So it comes time for George's seminar the next day. He's got a huge conference. I know the thing held about 200-300 people. And we come in, and it might have been about 20 people in there. But next door is packed early in the morning, like 10, 11 o'clock. And they're pumping gangster music, right? And so George is like, all them fools need to be over here listening to this message I got. And so I said, wait, they're going to come. They're going to come. And slowly the room started filling up. Room gets filled up. George goes to speak, and the PA system doesn't work. I don't know if you remember this, George, the PA system. But because me and my partner, Earl, owned a recording studio, we went back, we figured out what it was, got the PA system going, and George brought the house down. I mean, brought it down. And so afterwards, I was just blown away. I read the book, I ran into him, and I'm like, George, look, if you're ever in the DC area, I want to do a book signing for you. You just let me know when you're coming, and I'll gather everybody I know to come out to your book signing. And so George let me know when he was coming. We probably had about 100, and man, in this little tiny house I had, it had to be 100, 125 people. It was so tight, it was like sardines up in there. And for the next 2 hours, nobody moved. It was hot, we were sweating, and again, George just put the smack down. Then from there, I said, George, I got this recording studio on the side. I was working in pharmaceutical sales, but my passion was recording. I said, hey, give me an opportunity to record your audio for you, maybe do an audio book or a speech, and I'll edit it and all this, I'll package it up. He gave me that opportunity. All right. And from there, we built a friendship that has lasted 30 years. And so I want to say to you guys, number one, what do you want? But you can't do it alone. You've got to find people and network with people. And one of the things, George, is the foremost authority in this country and probably in the world, is turning networking into effective business relationships and friendships. And so I want to start there, George, with,
okay.
In order to get with you what you want, you have to network. But what really is networking? What really is that? And how does it work?
It is the identification and the building of relationships for the purpose of sharing information, resources, and opportunities. That's fundamentally the textbook definition of networking, according to George. That's the definition I wrote 35 years ago when I wrote Success Runs in Our Racing. This is the second edition of it right here. You had the first edition. This is the second edition. It came out 10 years after, and a third edition is coming out 10 years after the first edition. It is a modern day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. It is the book that started the networking conversation in Black America and ultimately started the networking movement. It is both an art and a science. It is both strategic, it's tactical, it's lineal, it's vertical and horizontal. In other words, you build relationships in a 360-degree kind of way. Right? So it requires learning. That is not some DNA thing that you have that you automatically know how to do that. No, you have to learn it and then practice it for the rest of your life. Now, when I say practice it, isn't it interesting that in the high professions, like a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, when they open their office, they call it what? A practice, right? A practice, because these are complicated professions, constantly evolving and changing. So who in the hell are they practicing on? They're practicing on you, right? So the art and science of networking is a practice, and it begins with understanding the amount of time that you actually have to give to this science and to this art if you are going to succeed at any level. If you're going to maximize your full human potential, you have to give this some time. We employed the Gallup organization to do a major study on the networking differences between Black people and white people. Study cost $50,000 to do. So in case you think I'm making stuff up, here's the study. What does that say? It says the Gallup organization. It's 100 pages long. And here is the name of the company that they did the study for. It cost $50,000 to get this information. Now, we were eminently qualified, JR, to do the study ourselves. We were the, but we knew that Black people would believe white people before they believed Black people. So we had a white company do it, right? And it essentially said that white people spend between 40 and 50% of their awake hours working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. And as a result of the time that they spend, almost half of their awake hours, they have somewhere on an average of between 275 and 300 well-developed contacts. Black people, on the other hand, according to the study, at this time spent less than 20% of their time cultivating work and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. And 81% who answered the question, do you think networking is important? 81% of Black people said, hell to the no, it's not important. What's important is my degree. Wrong. We'll unpack that later. So that's the first and foremost thing, is to understand that there is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own by yourself in a vacuum. It is impossible. Let me talk about business. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in, brothers and sisters, in case no one has told you, you are in the business of building relationships. That's the business you are in. Now, this is biblical. This is not something Dr. George Fraser made up. My favorite quote in the Bible, I have two. One is Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. The other one is John 5:30, a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Now that's rare. Why? There are 800,000 words in the Bible, brothers and sisters. Only 1,200 of those words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God, and he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. He needed 12 disciples. One turned on him. Judas turned on him. That left him with 11. So that's a magic number for me, because I'm not looking into building relationships where 1 and 1 makes 2. You can do that with any damn body. I'm looking for relationships where 1 plus 1 makes 11. You're looking for exponential and geometric power and growth, right? So that's why that's a magical number. So I don't know how much time you're spending. You need to track it for a week or two, cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships. But it should be minimally 35 to 40% of your time, minimally. That's A. B, you should have focus. You don't run around building relationships necessarily with any damn body. There are 3 categories of relationships that you will have to work on through every passage of your life. And if you're lucky, God will give you 8 passages. Each passage is about 10 years. Well, why, Dr. Fraser? Because you're a different person at 10 than you were at 1. You're a different person at 20 than you were at 10. Let us pray. Although I've met some 20-year-olds that act like 10-year-olds. You're a different person at 30 than 20, 40 than 30, 50 than 40, 60 than 50, 70 than 60, 80 than 70. You're constantly evolving. And your past is constantly informing your future life, your past life, your experiences, the hills and valleys, the twists and turns, the people that come into your life, your mistakes and your failures. They constantly are informing your future self, because your past is full of obstacles and full of twists and turns and full of failures. Every problem has a purpose. We're going to have problems. No one's going to get out of life without problems. So you have to practice this. First, you have to know about it. You have to know how important, how it's so critical in your life. And then you have to practice it. And there are 3 groups that you want to practice on and have them practice on you. There's your network at home. These are the people who cheer you on, lift you up, hug you, love you. That's your network at home. things are not right at home, it's going to have a domino effect in all other aspects of your life. But then you have to be very, very, very careful about your home-based network, your family. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about your family. And if you have a significant other, if in fact you are married or have a partner, not only do you have your family, I tell young people all the time, when you marry, not only do you marry her, you marry her entire family. And if she has a dog, you better love the dog, right? That's what you're marrying. So you're marrying into a family. She into you, you into her. This is blood. But what you will find out as you grow older and wiser is that the toxic people are going to come in and out of your life, and you're going to have the courage to identify them and bless them and release them. Now, this is very easy to say. This is extraordinarily difficult to do. Why? Because most of these people are your family. Had I not blessed and released 3 brothers, now my story is I was in an orphanage from 2 to 5 years old, and then I put into foster care, and I was in foster care, and I aged out of foster care. My father maintained connection with his children. My mother was mentally ill, and she was institutionalized, so he couldn't take care of 11 of us. There were 8 boys and 3 girls. And then when I aged out, I was the youngest. Me and my younger brother Joseph, we were the youngest. When I went back to the brownstone that my father maintained in Brooklyn, New York, my 3 older brothers were already there, but they had become heroin addicts and heroin dealers. So I'm now in the house with siblings, my older brothers, who are heroin addicts and heroin dealers. And God said to me, you got to get out of here. So I waited a bit, got myself together. Remember, I'm only 18 years old. I waited about a year or so. I knew I had to leave. I packed my stuff, got on a Greyhound bus, and came to Cleveland, Ohio, where I had a much older sister who took me in. What am I saying to you? Family is critically important. It's blood. So it's difficult to release the toxic ones in your family. And I don't know of a family that does not have some toxic people in it. That takes a lot of courage. And if you're not able to do it, you're just not going to get where you're going. So that not only includes family, but any other toxic person in your life, right? So now we're talking about your network at home. The second network is your operational network. These are the people that help you to get specific tasks done in life. And they platoon in and out of your life. Whether it's the place of business where you work, or the business in which you own, the organization that you belong to, the church, if you're a deacon on the deacon board, wherever there is cooperation and collaboration that is needed, and you participate in that cooperation and collaboration, that's your operational network. And again, these people will platoon in and out of the various passages of your life. There's only one person that still remains in my life. It's at 77 years old. That's my sister. So what's the old saying? People come into your life, what? For a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? Very, very few people, only one, have been with me for 77 years. You are a longtime friend. You've been with me more than 30 years, right? And there are lots of reasons for that. So that's your operational network. So we talked about your network at home. Now we're talking about your operational network, people that help you to get specific tasks done in life, and you help them get specific tasks done in life. And then the final network is your strategic network. These are the people that are smarter than you. These are the people that will drag you into the 21st century kicking, screaming, and crying. These are the people who are where you want to be in life. These are potentially your mentors and coaches. If you're the smartest person in your network, you're in the wrong damn network. You don't ever want to be the smartest person in your network, because how do you grow? Who's reaching down and pulling you up and reaching back and pulling you forward? So you need to be around smarter people. Let me say that a different way. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. As they know and as they go, so go you. What am I saying? I'm saying to everybody, listen to me. Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. Your relationships are everything. If you are not where you want to be in life, write this one down. If you are not where you want to be in life, it's because you don't have the right people in your life. Right? That's a mic drop right there. Maybe that went over your head, right? But if you are pining to be what you need to be and want to be and desire to be, and you are not there, is that you have made some bad people choices. Because that's what's going to get you there. You cannot do it by yourself on your own and in a vacuum. So I just talked about 2 things. Are you spending enough time? Do you really understand the art and science of network? Have you ever even read a single book on this science? Right? You could read mine. It's still sold on Amazon 30 years later, still sells 10,000 copies a year. 30 years later, how many books have been written other than the classics that are 30 years old and still being sold on Amazon? So read something on this science and understand how it works. Understand what to say, what not to say. Understand how to develop your emotional intelligence, your EQ, because that's the thing you're going to find out. Over time, you're going to find out that your emotional intelligence, your ability to control your 5 most important emotions and use the control of those emotions to cultivate, nurture, and to build relationships and to lead at work, at home, and in the community. That's a science by itself. In fact, let me recommend a book for you on that science, one that I recommend to everyone. If you haven't read this book, you need to read it, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. In the back of the book, there's a coupon. They send you to a website. You take an exam. Just like you take an IQ exam, you can take an EQ exam. And then you look at your score, then you read the book, and then they give you permission to take the exam again at another time to see if there's a change in what your EQ is versus your IQ before, and now you can take it after. So, emotional intelligence 2.0. Do you have the kind of interpersonal and people skills necessary, needed to cultivate and build relationships with all different kinds of people, with all different kinds of picadillos? So that is what you need to do. And then also understand, if you're in business, either you have a system or you don't have a business. I don't know what the hell you have, but if it's not a system, it's not a business. Something that you can replicate, duplicate, and scale. And scale. If someone loves what you're doing and say, listen, I'd like to license that or do that with you. Is it in writing? Is there a manual? Is there anything that you could give them to say, here's how it's done? So if you don't have a system, you don't have a business. Part of your system is learning the art and science of effective networking and building relationships and teaching that to your crew. Teaching them. Now, how do you teach them? You don't necessarily have to require that they read a book. You can just model it. That's the most important thing. You must model the behavior that you expect from your people. You model it. And if they're going to hang out with you and do business with you and do your business, they're going to have to do it like you. But they'll do it like you if you teach them. So take time, study the art and science of effective relationship building, all kinds of subjects. Study the art and science of emotional intelligence, and understand, as I said earlier, that as you get older and wiser, your EQ will be far more important than your IQ. It is your EQ that really embellishes your leadership qualities. Let me say that a different way. You can have a Harvard MBA, but if you have the personality of a box of rocks, you're not going anywhere. I'm sorry. You're just not going. And we've all met people like that in our lives. Brilliant, but a personality of a box of rocks. You wouldn't follow them to the bathroom, even if you had to go badly. We've all met people like that. And so those are three things that you need to focus on. And then one tip on building your business. Now, by the way, what you're getting tonight is really just an hors d'oeuvre. If you really want the full meal, you want to be at the conference. Now, that's 4 days, 12 hours a day. We don't stop. Baddest brothers and sisters on the planet. Networking is one of the subjects that we cover. Obviously, I cover that. But there's all kinds of subject matter content that you will need to cultivate, nurture, and to build relationships, build businesses, climb the ladder of success, if in fact that's what you want. All of those skills and the people who are experts in those skills, because we only talk about two things, and JR can tell you, the only two things we talk about for 4 days, 12 hours a day: business and money, and how to make them. That's all we talk about. What does it take to build wealth, right? And to build businesses? Because it is incumbent upon Black people, because white people will not be saving Black people. I want to say that and still be loved. They will not be saving Black people. White people are not even thinking about Black people. Do you know what white people are thinking about? They're thinking about white people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their children, their schools, their neighborhoods, their businesses, and your wallets. That's what they're thinking about. That's why they are the merchant class and we are the consumption class. And we've got to flip that script at some point in time. It is my prayer that by the end of the 21st century, that we ultimately will become the #1 employer of our own people. And every immigrant group has understood that, but Black people. Jews are the #1 employer of Jews, East Indians are the #1 employer of East Indians, Asians are the #1 employer of Asians, Arabs are the #1 employer of Arabs, and you can't hate on them. In fact, if you go into an Asian restaurant in the hood, and by the way, Asians have solved their own unemployment problem, opening small Asian restaurants in the urban centers of America. And if you go into one and there are 4 brothers waiting on you, leave. That's not a real Asian restaurant, because Asians do not employ Black people. They employ Asian people, just as what we should be doing. Right? They teach each other their skills. They earn their money in our neighborhoods. And then what do? They leave.
Mhm.
They're not interested in living with you. They're interested in living with their own, sending their children to their schools where humanly possible. So it's on us. It's on us. And this is this 360 degree of knowledge that we need to thrive, not just survive, is provided to you by the best and brightest in Black America. In fact, there is no, in the 21 years, this is our 21st year, this is our first live conference in 3 years, You couldn't name one top Black thinker or speaker that has not spoken at the Power Networking Conference. They've all been there. And many of the best have been there multiple times, like the Les Browns and the Miles Monroes, and you named them. So one little piece of advice about your business, if you're a business, I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question, and I want you to see if you can answer the question about your business. Are you a brand or are you a logo? Are you a brand or are you a logo? Now, a lot of people consider themselves to be a brand. Are you a brand or a logo? So what is the distinction, Dr. Fraser? A brand is a promise. A logo is an artistic depiction of an idea. So if in fact you are really a brand, what is your promise? Have you made a promise to your customers? Do they even know you have fulfilled the promise? Can you articulate that promise in less than a sentence? You need to get clarity. So we help you get clarity around that. You don't want to just be a logo. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you were to go into a Hilton, a Sheraton, or a Marriott, let's say you go into a Hilton in this year, and you come back 2 years later, and it's a Marriott. We've all seen that. You come back 3 or 4 years later, and it's a Sheraton. What's changed is the name, the logo.
Mhm.
What hasn't changed, there's no difference functionally between a Hilton, a Marriott, or a Sheraton. They're logos. There's no promise there. There's nothing that distinguishes them in your mind in terms of what they're delivering other than a price point. But if you go into a Ritz-Carlton, you know what their promise is. If Nike were to go into the hotel business, and you're not in it, you would know that it's a Nike hotel.
Mhm.
What's your promise? Now, let's make it personal. The name of my company for the last 30 years has been FraserNet, FraSer, FraserNet Incorporated. I have a logo. I was just looking for a piece of art to show you my logo. You may have seen it. Let me see. Oh, here it. Let me see. This is the Fraser Nation logo, which is produced by FraserNet, but it's Fraser Nation. But I don't have a fly. I wanted to show it to you. But anyway, I have a logo, and it says FraserNet. Underneath my logo are 3 words, which essentially is my promise to you. What are the 3 words? FraserNet helps you to connect, grow, and prosper so that you can learn, earn, and return. That's the promise. So whether you are a personal brand or whether you are a corporate brand or a small business brand, what is your promise? That is a human thing. That is a relationship thing. That's how you build and bond with other people, and that's how you build trust. Do you deliver on your promise? Do you even know what your promise is? Does it take you 10 minutes to explain your promise? It shouldn't. You should be able to articulate it in less than a sentence. Okay. Now that was a run-on paragraph from a singular question, but one thing just leads to the next. Yeah.
Well, you know, the incredible thing is, and I don't know if people have seen me turning my head and moving and stuff, and I don't know if you guys can try to put it in front of the camera, see here, I got a whole page of notes. And look, I've been looking down because I got this paper and I'm like, dang, I hope I don't run out of paper. And this started off with 3-4 blank sheets. I'm already through one sheet. And I filled up a whole sheet of paper, and I've known Dr. Fraser 30 years.
Right.
And I'm still on here taking notes and looking and putting bullet points and things like that. So I hope everybody is doing the same, because like you said, this is just a what do you call it? Appetizer. This is just an appetizer. We'll talk more about.
We got an hour. That's what we have. The conference will have literally from 12 to 12. As you know, it starts. It starts at 8 in the morning and typically goes to 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So you got 12 hours a day times 4. You got 48 hours and 1,000 of the baddest brothers and sisters on the planet who are there for the same reasons that you will be there, is to learn, earn, and return.
And I can say from personal experience, I'm just looking through all these other things that I have here, that, and we're going to give you specifics about the conference, so everybody can find out how to attend, where to attend and everything. We'll pull that up in a minute. But since I've been going to this conference, and I'm just going to put it out there, I've generated well over $500,000 from the connections at the conference, business-wise. Because you just run into somebody, you start talking, and everybody is sharing, you know, what they're doing and how they're doing it. And so the whole goal is, okay, if I can connect you with somebody, I'll do it. If you can connect me with somebody. And so it just feeds off of that and feeds off. It's probably much more than 500. It's probably about 750. So I can't even emphasize that enough, but we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But I got a question for you, Dr. Fraser, and that is, if you could go back, you know, knowing what you know now, and this is a question people hear quite frequently now, and tell your younger self 3 things, right? What would you tell your younger self?
Yeah, I love that question. It's actually a very deep question, and I'm in a fortunate position that I have 77 years to draw on. So here's what I've learned. The fastest way to get where you're going is slowly. Now, this is completely the opposite of how I was thinking when I was a young whippersnapper. Everything was in a hurry, quick, fast, in a hurry, including decisions. Brothers and sisters, your life is too important and your time is too limited. You want to make good decisions. Do it slowly. Think about things. Sleep on things. One of the questions I ask all the time is, what is the difference between a smart person and a wise person? A smart person knows exactly what they want. A wise person knows exactly what they don't want in order to avoid mistakes and poor judgment. Think about the things that are going on in your life. You're going to have to navigate throughout your entire life tragedy and evil. This is the bargain you made. When we popped out, our lives will be full of tragedy and evil. Tragedy is not your fault. A hurricane is not your fault. You're just going to have to deal with it. An earthquake is not your fault. You're just going to have to deal with it. A snowstorm is not your fault. You're just going to deal with it. Evil is man-made. And it's everywhere. All the time throughout history. And you're going to have to deal with it. So you're going to have to really think about and grow your life, grow your mind, so that you'll make the right decisions. And I have just found out, and I've tried it every speed you could possibly imagine, and I have found out at the end of the day, slowly is better. Think about it. Especially in important and big decisions, especially in selecting friends and partners. Think about it. So that would be one piece of advice. Another piece of advice would be to be curious. Now, this is very hard to tell young people. Certainly hard to tell me, because I wanted to play. I wasn't curious about any damn thing. I wanted to play with my friends, do what they were doing, you know. I was not really, other than the reading I had to do for school, just to get a grade, I wasn't really putting any time into that. And so I would advise myself to be curious. Let's call it intellectual curiosity. Be curious about things. All right. So one of the keys to success is to be an inch wide and a mile deep in your subject matter expertise, and then to be a mile wide and an inch deep of matters of the world. So you can talk about something other than what's on the Good Housewives of Atlanta, the weather, or sports. You need to be a 360-degree person. Be curious. What does that mean? How does that manifest itself? Read. I'm in my office. I'm not in my home. You see what's behind me? My library. There's 2,500 books in my office. There are 15,000 books in my home. I read 100 books a year. I'm not bragging. The average person only reads one book a year. You realize that? In America, one book a year. If you read one book a month, in 5 years, you will have read 60 books, and the average person will have only read 5. You're going to be better prepared. Be curious, because as you educate yourself, that becomes the foundation of critical thinking. And I don't think we have enough Black folk in America who are critical thinkers. And when you become a critical thinker, you can really lead, you can inspire, you can instruct. JR, and I've said this to him, I'm not saying it while he's on the Zoom call there, is a critical thinker. Is a problem solver. He knows a lot. He knows a little bit about a lot, and then a lot about a specific thing. That's an interesting and engaging human being. That's why our relationship has been sustained well over 30 years. This is why he is tenured faculty at the Power Networking Company. Just like Harvard has tenured faculty, Princeton has tenured faculty. They don't change their entire faculty every year. No, we have a select group of instructors and teachers, faculty members we call them, who are tenured. who will be there for as long as the conference is there. That's a very high honor. And that's what you want. You want to be looked upon like that. That starts with just simply being curious about things. Reading. So that you can become a critical thinker. I wish I had known that earlier. No one ever said that to me. No one ever said that to me. Finally, on this, fail fast. My favorite quote outside of the Bible is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. And it was Marcus Aurelius, who was one of the 5 great Caesars around 150 AD, said, "The impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way." Now that's a mile deep. He said that in about 175 AD. Now let me say it a little bit simpler. The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you are prepared for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under that obstacle to solve the problem, to learn the lessons. And when you do that, you get an attaboy, metaphorically speaking, and an attagirl from God. And then you're given your next assignment at a slightly higher level because you've learned the lessons from the last. And then what's the next thing God does? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle. Now, this is another way of saying what I said to you earlier, that your past life informs your future life. So the lessons that you are extracting and learning are informing what you're going to be. Let me say that differently. Life is on the edge. That's what life is. Life, that's how God has designed it. That's what life is. You got to take risks. You got to go to the edge, and then you got to jump off the edge, and then you grow your wings on the way down. That's what life is. And then there will be obstacles. There will be things that you will have to overcome. But fail fast. Don't get into something, then you say, man, I hate this. Because I've never met anyone, maybe you have, but I've never met anyone who hated what they were doing and was good at it. I've never met that person. Mm-hmm. Right? Typically, the quality of a person's work is a reflective of how much they hate what they're doing or love what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So, and it doesn't mean that you don't try a lot of things, because you should, because you're in search of your purpose. And you're going to try things and you're not going to like them. I don't want to do that. I went through that whole transition myself until I finally landed, probably 45 years in, on what God put me here to do. But it took a lot of experimentation and it took a lot of failing. But I failed fast. Take risks. Try it. You don't like it, get out of it, go on to the next thing. Bless it and release it. Go on to the next thing. So those are the 3 things that I had the wisdom. And of course, you're not going to have the wisdom at a very, very early age. The only way you're going to get that kind of wisdom, you're going to get it by reading and reading and learning the lessons that the greats have gone through. I love biographies. And the only way you're going to get those kinds of lessons is to sit at the feet of masters, to get out in the world, go to conferences, invest in workshops, seminars, and be committed to constant, never-ending improvement, lifelong learning, and personal growth and development. That you never stop learning. And actually, JR said he learns from me. Every time I talk to JR, I learn something. I learned something. And oftentimes I'll call him up on something I really need to get a deeper understanding about. Mm-hmm. And I know that he has that particular area of expertise. And I ask him questions just like he's asking me questions. That's the beauty of the relationship. That's the simpatico. That's the power of the relationship, shared knowledge. That's the beauty of networking, shared knowledge. That's really what the whole conference is about. It is a manifestation. It is a perfect example of effective networking, because everybody there in some way is a friend or a relationship or someone that was touched with you or I have touched. And that's what life is about. And that's how we get where we're going.
I tell you, is like I said, I got 2 pages of notes here.
Right.
And imagine being with Dr. Fraser and other folks like Dr. Fraser.
That's right.
For 3-4 days. And so I want to, because we're coming up on our time, I want to talk a little bit about the conference and share some information with those who want to attend the conference. But one of the things I want to share before I even go into that is I've found, and especially nowadays, that we all want a quick fix, right? Everybody wants quick money. We want to make the money, right?
That's right.
We want to have the best relationship. We want to have whatever, the nicest car, the nicest house, whatever. We want a quick fix. Mm-hmm. But we don't necessarily want to invest in ourselves first. And sometimes people think that there's a magic bullet or a magic something you can buy, and that's going to just instantaneously get you everything you want. But the thing they really need to be doing is looking in the mirror at themselves and saying, how much am I investing in myself?
Right.
Right. How much am I investing in myself? You know, they say the test of a person who really wants to know something is, are they willing to go across the country, spend money, and go sit and learn from the masters? One of my favorite phrases by you, Dr. Fraser, is that you got to go where the masters are, because they ain't coming to you. They're not showing up, knocking on your door saying, hey, we thought you, nobody knocked on my door and said, hey, JR, we think you want to be a stock market expert. We're here to walk in for free and show you, how to. I spent well over $100,000 learning what I've learned. Right.
And now you're the master. Now you're the master. Right.
So the point is that the number one investment, if you look at the people who are really at their peak, the Dr. Frasers of the world, you can see behind them. I don't know how many books that is behind you, but it's a lot.
It's 2,500 books, 2,500 in my office.
In your office, and what, 15,000 at home. You got a book all over you. So he's invested time, effort, energy in himself, right? And he has this conference, but I know you go to other conferences to learn. You have other mentors and stuff.
Right, absolutely. No question about it.
So we have an incredible opportunity, and I want to just kind of pull up, and hopefully the technology will work. All right, so let me just see. I'm going to share my screen. All right, can you guys see this? This is actually Dr. Fraser's LinkedIn page. Can everybody see that? Dr. Fraser, can you see it? Let me see. Okay. So one of the things you should do is go on LinkedIn and connect with Dr. Fraser. This is a person that you want to connect with. And like I said, his bio and everything is too long. I didn't want to spend the whole hour just going over his bio. All right. But I want to show you some
You know what you should have done? You should have just showed the little 90-second sizzle reel. That's what you should have done.
I should have. You're actually right. And I
Right.
didn't think about that, but
Oh.
that's why I got you as a mentor and a coach. But let me show you this. This is actually the homepage for the Power Networking Conference. All right, so you see Dr. Fraser on there, Dr. Stacy Grant. You probably might recognize Dr. Randall Pinkett from Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump. And when you come to the conference, if you get opportunity to hear him speak or talk about that, what happened behind the scenes,
Right?
you'll get an in-depth analysis of Donald Trump and what he's really like, if you don't already know. But that's a whole nother subject. We're not going to go there. But as you scroll down, all right, you'll see that it's from August 3rd through the 6th. That's a Wednesday through a Saturday. All right, for those who register, the Wednesday is a bonus day. All right. And then as you go down, again, it's going to be in Houston, Texas. All right. Interestingly enough, the conference was selected by Forbes magazine as one of the top 5 can't miss conferences for entrepreneurs. Now, here's something that's interesting. It doesn't say top 5 can't miss Black conferences. It says top 5 conferences out of all conferences, Black, white, Hispanic, or anything else. That's a hell of a distinguished or honor to be placed on this conference that's been going on for 21 years now. All right. And so you're going to have entrepreneurs from all over the country, some in the beginning phases, some in the middle phases, and some who are advanced, all sharing, walking, and sharing information. $100 million worth of intellectual capital will just be floating around you. It's amazing how you just start a conversation up with somebody. You never know where that conversation is going to go. Man, let me tell you, we've had it, and let me say this, we've had the conference the past 2 years online, but there is nothing, and I do mean nothing, like being there in person with all these beautiful folks walking around sharing and caring. And so it's almost like we've been quarantined for 2 years, but we're coming out now, baby. We're coming out in Houston, Texas. We're coming out. So I can't even put it into words what that's going to feel like. All right. Got a powerhouse list of speakers that's going to be there on almost every subject matter that you can think of. I'll be there talking about the stock market. We got real estate. We got building businesses. We got online market. I mean, you name it. Is somebody there who's doing it. You're going to meet some of the most fascinating people. You start talking to them. You're like, how you get into underwater basket weave? Like, how did you know? There's some fascinating folks there.
That's right.
And some incredible sponsors as well. And so if you're interested in attending, all right, and I shouldn't even say if you're interested in attending, I'm going to assume everybody's interested in attending. Here's what I want you to do. You can go to PNC, which stands for Power Networking Conference, but just put in the initials PNCticket.com, PNC Ticket. No S on the end, PNCTICKET, PNCticket.com. It's going to take you to this website. All right. And as you scroll down, you'll see information, me and Dr. Fraser.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to invite you to be one of my special VIP guests. All right. And as you scroll down, you'll see the information about the conference. But let me go back here. I want to show you the price of the conference. All right, everybody, well, what's the price? What's the price? I want to show you the price that's on the Power Networking Conference site. All right. If you scroll down here, normally $14.95, it's $747.50. For students, it's $397. All right. These are the prices on the website. All right. If you go to powernetworkingconference.com, that's the price you're going to get. If you go to pncticket.com and you come all the way to the bottom and it says, yes, I want to reserve my seat for the Power Networking Conference and be one of JR's VIP guests, you fill this in, your first and last name, your email, your best phone number, best time to call you. You click submit. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Dr. Fraser has agreed. Now, before I even tell you what he's agreed to, this is a gentleman, if I told you what he gets paid just an hour to speak from his house, from his office, much less if you want him to come out and do something for you, what he charges. But here's what he's agreed to do for me and my guest on this call tonight is, first and foremost, the price is going to be $5.99, all right, for a ticket, instead of whatever it was here, $7.47. But when you fill this form in, it's going to send an email directly to him and to me. And he's going to personally call you tomorrow. Everybody who signs up, he's going to personally call you tomorrow and process your order. Now, let me say this. Don't fill this form out if you're not serious. Don't fill it out if you ain't. Dr. Fraser knows me. There's a little gangster inside of me too, right?
That's right.
I get it from him and my father, right?
That's right.
Don't waste his time. If you fill the form out and you submit it, that means, hey, tomorrow I got my credit card ready, Dr. Fraser,
Right.
and I'm ready to sign up and get my ticket. This isn't a, hey, I just.
You know what, JR?
Mhm.
Two things. An adult registration, as you showed everybody, typically is $1,495. We have a special for $789 or something like that right now.
Mhm.
And a student is typically $795, and now we have a special for about $300 for students.
Mhm.
So what I want to do for that $599 is I'm going to throw in a student registration. So if you took the rack rate of the adult and the student, $1,500 and $800, that's $2,300. We're going to reduce that to $599. So you get one adult and one young person, 17 to 25, 17 to 25. That's the range, college age.
So wait a minute. So you're saying, okay, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you clearly, because this is being recorded. Now, this is being recorded, Dr.
Oh, you're recording this?
I'm recording this.
I can't say I didn't really say that.
So you're saying, all right, one adult, which is normally 14, it was at 7 something on the registration site, $5.99, and you can bring a young adult. What's the ages again? 17 to 25?
17 to 25. You have that option. If you don't have a young adult, we will put a scholarship, because we give we try to give our young adult scholarships, and this is how we do it. We will give a young person a scholarship in your name.
And that's one of the
things. If you
things.
have a child or a niece or nephew, or you live in Houston, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And we need to be conferencing with our young people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to be doing. And they need to be sitting at the feet of masters. And this has changed countless of young lives, because we do this. And we emphasize, bring a young person.
We do have a challenge, all right? And it wouldn't be fair if I didn't bring the challenge up. And here's the challenge. The challenge is, because of COVID, normally we got like 1,500 people at the conference. But in talking to Dr. Fraser earlier, because of COVID, we're probably going to have to reduce that number by about 500. Mm-hmm. And the conference is still 5 months away. Things could change, but as of now, there's about 1,000 slots open. And what percentage of that is already filled 5 months before the conference, Dr. Fraser?
70% is already gone.
70%.
70% of the registrations are already gone.
So that means there's about 300 slots left.
Right.
And we're 5 months out.
We're 5 months out. That's exactly.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we understand the time is Wednesday, August 3rd through Saturday, August 6th. It's in Houston, Texas. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Houston, but it's a blast in Houston. They say everything is bigger in Texas, right? And the slots we're 5 months out and there's only 300 slots. So if you're serious, go ahead, put your information in here. And Dr. Fraser gave his word. He's going to personally call and personally process your order for you.
Right.
But again, those of you who know me, this is my gangster side coming out. Well, really, I'm protecting myself. Do not have Dr. Fraser call me talking about this person put this in and they weren't serious about it. This is only for serious people. When you put it in, it's immediately going to shoot to his email and my email. Okay. And that means you're ready to go. You have your money. And if you have your one person that you want to bring with you, your one young person, fantastic. All right. So again, the website is PNC Ticket, no S on the end, PNCticket.com.
Right.
All right. And all I can say is you're in for a treat because we have these events going on all during the day. But then at the end of the week, we have a going away party. And Dr. Fraser, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It's we call it our Wakanda party. It's African attire, and there's only one party. We're not that kind of conferences. We have, luncheons and meals and that kind of stuff, but we don't really party. We're really busy learning and growing and networking. So we have one big party at the end with African attire, and it's thebomb.com. It's a place you want to be. You'll feel at home because the whole thing feels like a huge family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of African centered. We have a formal introduction and opening on Thursday, because Wednesday is the bonus day. Thursday is opening day, but people come in on Wednesday, and we have a lot of programming for them on Wednesday. So it's just a blast. Come and be you. Come and do you. It's the kind of thing we emphasize multiple streams of income. We believe that there should not be a Black person in America with a single stream of income. And so if you come to the conference with a single stream of income, you'll leave with at least two. If you come with two, you'll leave with 4 streams of income. You come with 4, you'll leave with 8. So it's a place where people connect, they grow, and they prosper. That's really what it's all about. And we provide you the tools and the training and the coaching and the mentoring and the instructions, and from the best and the brightest, and the relationships that you can nurture and cultivate, and vice versa, that will help you grow and build your business and build your network. So it's all that in a bag of chips. I want to clear up one thing also. What I don't want you to get is confused. We do have a Fraser Net VIP package. It's on our site, and it's $4,000 if you want a whole conference. Now, you're going to come as JR's VIP, but I don't want you to confuse it with the official VIP package. And whenever I go to a conference, and I go to a lot of them, that's the only way I tend to go. I go as a VIP, so I pay that rate. I'm not suggesting that you do that. There is no deal on the official conference VIP. But you're coming as JR, you got a special price. And that's because he's a very important person to me. So you have a very special price that you're getting as a result of this relationship. And so let's not, I don't want to confuse that. I want you to come in and say, well, I'm a VIP. No, we only sell 10 official Fraser Net VIP tickets, because there's a whole bunch of other things that come with it. Okay. So I'm not trying to tantalize you. I just want to get clarity around that. Okay. Does that make sense, JR?
It makes plenty of sense. And that's one thing I love about Dr. Fraser. He's very straightforward. As you get to know him, it's not a lot of candy coating, because both of us, we don't like a lot of confusion.
Right. That's right.
And one of the things I will say too is that this is a type of conference where you never know who's going to be just walking down the aisle or walking in the hallways. And everybody's very approachable. When you come to the conference, you see Dr. Fraser, there should be no intimidation to go up, hey, Dr. Fraser, I'm here, I was on your conference.
Right.
And he's not going to poo-poo y'all, get out my face. And that, like, I've been to some things where you meet the person who is on stage, and I'm just going to say it the way I would say it. They're an asshole off a stage, right?
Mm.
One of the things that attracted me to Dr. Fraser is that what you see here that's who he is. That's who he is on stage, off stage, on the side of the stage. Very approachable, loves talking to people, loves sharing. And so so we're excited about what's coming up. And then I want to say something too, that this conference is not about bashing any other race or anything like that, right?
No.
This is about uplifting us,
Right.
so that there's equality. The world really is a better place when everybody's on equal footing,
That's
right?
right.
So it's not about going and oh, that's one of them black conferences where they're gonna bet. No, that's not what it's about. It's about us uplifting each other and sharing and things of that nature, right? And we got the best of the best doing it, and as far as I'm concerned, the best leader doing it. So we're gonna wrap things up. I'm just seeing so many comments that are coming in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read them as they're coming. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I'm so glad I acted on the offer to attend this interview. Thank you, JR, for the invite. Thank you, Dr. Fraser, for the very filling appetizer. Is this the only time we'll have to sign up under JR's invite? I tell you what. What's today? Is today Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay. So if you need to get your money tight and right, all right, what should we do, Dr. Fraser?
Well, here, the first things first, second things never. Do the first thing, sign up, because you're going to talk to me. If you need grace, if you need time, absolutely.
Okay.
Just get your slot. Get
Right.
get in. That's the first thing. And once you fill out that form, we have a slot for you. Now, and if you need some grace, we'll give you some grace and time. I mean, I've been black for 77 years. Okay. So I know how that works. So, and been there, done that myself. Right.
Just don't play. Don't, that's my one thing that people know. Don't play around. And then it's like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. And well, what had happened was, and because you get put on the list, and you don't want to get put on the list of people who play. You want to be on that list of, hey, I did what I said I'm going to do, and it's on.
Right.
And I can assure you, one of the things, we have so much fun. We're learning, but we have so much fun. And we're going to be talking trash for sure. People, we talking trash and things like that. It's an experience unlike any other. So I look forward to seeing everybody. I'm going to toss the ball, do my Magic Johnson pass to Dr. Fraser for closing words.
This was a real joy. And the opportunity is a gangster opportunity. So now you got to man up and woman up. And you gotta get gangster. You got to go to the edge and jump off. Take a risk. Grow your wings on the way down. There is no way that you can lose. No way. It's a win, win, win. You will win, we will win, and the people that we all serve will win. So I just, from my heart, urge you to think about this, maybe even sleep on it. And it will be a life-changing experience. There is no conference like this. And I say that with humility. And so I hope you feel that. And I hope you got something out of tonight's conversation. But no, as we said right from the beginning, that's just an hors d'oeuvre.
It really is.
Sign up for the full meal. And it'll be like no experience you've had in a long, long time.
All right. So I'll put my name in here right quick. All right. Well, again, I want to thank you so much, my friend of many years. every time I think about that story about how we met and went from that to this point. As a matter of fact, I meant to, this is another thing I want to put up. I have pictures of us 30 years ago in the house, and current pictures of us together. And so, yeah, still going strong, still
Right.
going strong.
Incredible.
So,
Incredible.
all right. Well,
All
we're
right,
going to wrap it
JR.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Everybody have a blessed evening. And like I said, put your name in there. Dr. Fraser is going to call you tomorrow
I'll
and
try
make it
to.
happen. All right.
Love you all.
So,
Take care. Have a good evening. Thank you.
all right. Take care.
Thank you, JR.
Mhm.
you.
All right now.
Thank you so much.
All right. You guys take care.
Good night.
You.